Good morning, Don't Unfriend Me Nation. Matthew Spear from the Don't Unfriend Me show. I actually was told by a troll today that my orating skills are horrendous. Oh, that hurts. That hurts. 3 Fortune 15s, speaking in front of audiences of 40,000 people, standing up on stage and getting to address the entire Apple leadership crew with Tim Cook and all the greats, Angela Ahrendts. I don't know. I think I'm pretty good at this. I don't know. Maybe you just don't like the topic. Maybe you don't like that the beard hits your giggle button. Is that what it is? Listen, it's okay. There's plenty of people that I don't like. I think that when Katy Perry sings, it sounds like two cats running from a Haitian. So I understand it's an acquired taste, and I am an acquired taste. There's no doubt in my mind. Sometimes I don't even like hanging out with me, so I get it. But usually when somebody starts making fun of somebody for something, it's because they have insecurities about themselves. And after your replies to some of the things that I said, I can definitely see that you have insecurity about your own esteem and your own value. And that's an issue that I just can't help you with. You might want to talk to your psychiatrist or your mommy and daddy and root it back to them, but I'm not your problem. The problem is that you think that anyone who talks about Donald Trump in a positive light is in a cult. This shirt completely taken out of context.
Do you want the truth? Are you tired of being so confused? You feel like you're more f***ed up than the lies on the evening news. Well, just step right in.
The first thing that a cult requires is like a very charismatic leader. Somebody who is a fascist. So if we were to look at Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, we know that neither of them are fascists. And the reason why we know this is because we had 4 years of Donald Trump in office, leading this country with his policies on the world stage. And in no way are you less free than you were in 2016 to 2020. Kamala Harris has been in office as vice president for 4 years and a senator and attorney general, and she's done absolutely nothing. But still not a fascist, so to speak. She flirts with progressivism and socialism, which is an entire another conversation. But you're the ones that say he's an orange baboon, that he's fat, that he smells bad, that he's a Nazi, that he's a xenophobic. That doesn't sound charismatic to me. In fact, we find Donald Trump to be quite charming, and really the reason why is because he owns libs. And there is nothing better than seeing leftists with their elitist, I'm educated, I'm better than you, nana boo-boo, stick your head in doo-doo mentality. Get down into the gutter with us where we work, where we live, and make yourselves honestly melt down. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread. But when we start getting to the other factors of what a cult is, like isolation from society, the interesting part is that you want nothing to do with MAGA. You want nothing to do with Donald Trump supporters. In fact, you say that the left coast and the right coast, which is truly just the left coast, is all about education and innovation and infrastructure. We have the better jobs. We have the better vacations. We have the better weather. And we don't want to be a part of those flyover states. And this has been going on for a long time, whether it be in education or socioeconomic status. So the way that you treat Republicans and conservatives, or just even independents or anyone who doesn't agree with you, absolutely is an isolationist viewpoint. You have this globalism and populism standpoint from the way you run government. But when it comes to the individuals in your party, you guys have one singular thought, and that's collectivism. So really, to say that we're there is kind of ridiculous. Manipulative and coercive tactics. Well, let's go ahead and look at the ad campaigns. Let's look at the impeachments on Trump. Let's look at going and changing statutes and laws in New York so you can bring up charges that ultimately had expired, taking misdemeanors and turning them into felonies, making up cases. Going and circumventing precedent and law where other presidents have taken documents home. But if Donald Trump does it, of course, he's just Satan. When you guys go ahead and say that if we don't follow a certain code that you believe in, therefore we need to be castigated out of society and be called traitors, seditionists, treasonists, it's also tiring. This us versus them mentality is an example of a cult. Most cult leaders say that these people are the reason for your problem, that these people are the reason why you're less free than you were yesterday, even though there's no freedoms that were changed or taken away. Murdering babies isn't a freedom. It was never a right. I'm sorry. You can go ahead and call it whatever you want. The truth of the matter is that this us versus them mentality starts with the belief of your party that individuals do not have rights. You believe that collectively people have rights, and the moral majority or the mob ultimately, their rights are more important than the individual or the minority rights. We're not talking about skin color. We're talking about opinion. We're talking about things that go against the grain, and it makes you feel icky and uncomfortable, and therefore you castigate aspersions on people, and you label them, and you try to make them the enemy. That's you. When we look at unquestionable beliefs and practices, look at some of the things you buy into. Women are men, men are women, that a baby is just a clump of cells, even at 9 months, and unless it takes its first breath, God says it's okay to go ahead and abort babies. That's the new one because it talks about the breath or the air of life. But we know when life starts. Life starts at conception. The point is that you have grown comfortable with it because you've moved the goalposts. When you first started to push for abortion in the 70s, you said it was in emergencies. It was in situations like life of mother and incest, and only in rare occasions. Now, it's used like you're going to go pick up an apple pie from McDonald's. We have people in the streets celebrating, counting how many babies they've actually aborted. You see people on the news say they celebrate the death day of their child instead of the birthday. That's some weird and sick shit, don't you think? It's almost cult-like. To sit here and say that we're a cult when we have voted for the same guy for 9 years, good and bad, because let's face it, since 2016, MAGA hasn't been successful. We got Donald Trump in office, and then it's pretty much went downhill since then, but at least we've stuck with a candidate we believe in. You guys would not vote for Kamala Harris. She didn't even get a primary vote in California. She was on the national stage, and she was the most disliked candidate ever. She didn't even get 1% of the vote. Amy Klobuchar did better than her. So for you to sit here and say that all of a sudden that Joe Biden is the only person that can save us from freedom and democracy from collapsing, that the big orange Nazi is going to come in and take over and start World War III and put us in chains and have you guys be Stepford wives. Well, that's not what happened 2016 to 20. And if Joe Biden's the only person that can save you from that, then why did you replace him after trying to convince us when we told you that this guy had absolutely lost his marbles and tell us that he was the great white hope? And now you replace him without one primary vote? 14 million people's votes are just thrown away? The democracy, the democratic process is thrown by the wayside. They install a new person who's about as popular as frickin' a thumbtack in the foot. And you all rally behind her and love her like she is the greatest politician ever, ignore her socialist policies, ignore the things that she has never done, the border czar, Russia invading into Ukraine after her visit to Poland, and literally be putting on the back shelf like it was an elf on the shelf. But instead, it's 365 days a year by the person who doesn't have his faculties, Joe Biden, and you get in line and now she is the greatest candidate you've ever seen and you're comparing her to Obama? Yeah, it doesn't sound like a cult at all. How about exploitation of members? Well, I can't think of any exploitation that's better. Now, you guys think that Donald Trump selling us a Bible or us making a shirt for him or donating to his campaign is exploitation, when honestly his average donation is $16, and it used to be that Democrats would go ahead and be all up in the arms about how small donations mattered. But Donald Trump's winning in that category. But then you call it a cult. Or what is a cult? When you go ahead and take 37 of the top 50 cities which have the most homicide, the most black-on-black death, you keep people for 90 years in chains in the modern-day slave plantations, which are the worst-run cities in America, which are Democrat. You go every 4 years and you talk to black people and minorities like you're somehow going to come in and be the white shadow and save them. And all you do is put them back on the shelf and ignore them until it's time to vote again. Don't give me any crap about us exploiting people. You guys have been riding off this since LBJ said we're going to get those N-words addicted to government. And then those N-words will vote for Democrats for the rest of your life. Yeah, that's the Great Society, and that was your boy, LBJ. But he cared about civil rights. How about the extreme demands on our own personal time and lifestyle? We have to go ahead and celebrate the Rainbow Parade. We have to allow our kids to go to school and be indoctrinated and somehow pick their pronouns. And all of these things that you demand of us, that we have to take our time away from our families, our jobs, our recreational time, and dedicate ourselves to a party that honestly doesn't give a shit about us? I'm sorry, we're not going to cross into that line. I don't care how much Kool-Aid you give us. What about when you talk about the apocalyptic or doomsday scenarios that you guys have been espousing for 75 years? First, it was Freon and refrigerators. Then it was the ozone. It was Aquanet and hairspray. Then it was going to be nuclear reactors. Oh no, it's not that. It's smog and it's carbon emissions. It's global warming. Okay, it's not warming. It's climate change. No, it's not that. It's greenhouse gases. It's murder hornets. It's COVID. It's Donald Trump. Everything is fear porn. And all you do is say the sky is falling and the sky never falls. That's what a cult does. Let's make sure a comet doesn't go by because we'll lose half the liberals in America. How about secrecy and deception? Isn't it amazing that Democrats aren't held accountable? Isn't it amazing that Eric Adams goes ahead and gets upset, gets frustrated, and says, no more sanctuary cities, no more dumping of illegals into my state. And Democrats decide to go ahead and drop the bomb right before the election and throw him to the wolves because this is what New York does. The entire secrecy that somehow you can't have your children talk to parents anymore, but can talk to a guidance counselor about their sexual disposition or their overall beliefs or changing their name. These things aren't okay. The fact that you have books that children shouldn't be reading because we put a label on cigarettes and pornography, but somehow we can go ahead and say it's okay because it's for education. This whole thing is tiresome. The last thing is that anyone who decides to challenge your belief structure, anyone who says, I don't agree with the ideology of at least one piece, whether it be abortion or global warming or that men can be women and get pregnant and have their periods, whatever nonsense you force down people's throat and they resist, you castigate them out of society. Donald Trump used to be adored by liberals. You put him in songs. You put him on TV on one of the most liberal networks. You guys had him donate money to your campaigns. You had him guest speak, and you had him do 500-plate dinners for your Democratic parties. Rappers sang about him. Gold chains had Trump on them. People used to talk about being rich like Trump. You had Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, who both celebrated him. He received humanitarian awards for his black contributions to the inner city. These things all were okay at one point. Take a look at J.K. Rowling. You guys hate her guts. Why? Because she says men can't be women. And therefore, she is the worst person ever. Although your entire generation grew up on her books and you consumed her stuff by the billions and swore that she was the greatest literary work author ever to live. And now she's just a conservative with an opinion, even though she is the farthest thing from conservative. She's English, for God's sakes. We don't claim her. What about what she did to Elon Musk? The man was going to save us. He was going to create brain implants that were going to control people with cerebral palsy and muscular dystrophy. He was going to go ahead and send us to Mars and save this planet from the ultimate devastation in 3 years of global warming. Well, that hasn't happened. But you hate him now. Why? Bill, because he took away Jack Dorsey's Twitter, the thing where you could go ahead and spread all the disinformation and all the deception that you wanted. But now that that's stopped and Republicans are doing it, it's somehow not okay. We're not in a cult. We won't do what Donald Trump says that's against our credo, our ideology, and our beliefs. And we know he's broken the law. We know he's said things that are not cool. We know that he has done things that we don't agree with. All of these things are 100% true. And instead of looking at it and saying, well, how come you cannot vote for him because of the things he said or the things he's done or the things he believes, is instead of doing that, maybe you should look at why we support him is because you're so obnoxiously bad that he looks good in comparison. Folks, thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me show. No, we're not a cult. We just got some Trump merchandise. I've just got a tattoo on my ass. No, okay. We'll be back at 7 o'clock. My name's Matthew Spear. We appreciate you. It is Red Friday. Where's some red? I'll put some on for tonight's show. Thanks for watching, and we hope you enjoyed the show. God bless. And hey, hurricane people, even liberals, stay safe.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The Dumb Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.